In this lesson, we're taking the idea of ratios and rates, and we're going to start changing what we're doing with fractions to percents. The first thing we need to know is the definition of the word percent. I know normally we're not very big on definitions, but the reason I like paying particularly close attention to the word percent is because it helps us figure out what the ratio should be. The word percent just means per 100. So whenever you're talking about a percent, it's the number over 100 as a whole. So 60% means 60 out of 100. You could write it as 60 over 100. Basically, any number in percent will be equal to that number over 100. Now, the big thing to remember anytime you write anything as a fraction, whether it's a percent or just a unit rate or a ratio, whatever it happens to be, a majority of the time you're going to want to have a simplified answer, because when we operate with these numbers, they're much easier when they're simplified and reduced down. So you can see here in this example, I'll kind of work through it as well, but you have 35%, and you're not going to have to write these numbers out on a piece of graph paper and shade in a bunch of boxes. You're simply going to have to put it as 35 over 100 and then reduce when possible. So both of these can be divided by 5. And when I divide by 5, I get 7 over 20. And you can stop reducing when they don't share any common factor. So 7 and 20 don't share anything. 7 is prime, and 20's numbers that go into it are 1, 2, 5, 4, 10, and 20. So a couple more examples. This is very similar. Notice when we have 100%, it's just going to be equal to 100 over 100. And we know any number divided by itself is 1. So we know that the entire thing is filled up, one whole 100%. When we have numbers that are bigger than 100, we change them to mixed numbers. So we would say, okay, if it's 174, we know that we have one whole part because of the 100, and then we have 74 over 100 left over. And again, we can reduce that 74 over 100. When we do that, we would divide by 2, and we would get 37, 1 and 37 over 50. The book does this a little bit differently. You can do it however you want. So if you want to leave it an improper fraction and reduce it like that, and then have your last step be turning it into a mixed number after you reduce all the way, that's fine. I just like to turn it into a mixed number right away down here, because we can see that we have 100 already, and we can take 100 out and then simplify. So pause, try these three, write them as a fraction in simplest form. That'll be the big thing that I look for in your homework as well, that is that you follow the directions and write them in simplest form. I'll go ahead and start. Again, pause if you haven't. So 5% is going to be 5 over 100. We can divide both by 5, and we get 1 over 20. 168%, we would put 168 over 100. When we divide that, we would get 1 and 68 over 100. We can reduce 68 and 100. We can divide both of those by 2 and get 34 over 50. We can divide both of those by 2 again and get 17 over 25. Those cannot be divided any further, so our answer is 1 whole and 17 over 25 left over. 36 over 100. We can divide both of them by 4. 4 goes in 9 times, and 4 goes in 25 times. That is simplified all the way, so 9 over 25 would be our answer. And then the last one, 4, would be 83 over 100, and they do not share any factors. So your answer would just be 83 over 100. This is it. Okay, so again, make sure you ask questions if you didn't get those. These should be pretty straightforward. Taking it from a fraction to a percent is pretty similar. Again, we know that percent means that we want our denominator to be 100. So in this problem, what they did is they said, okay, what is 1/4 as a percent? Well, again, whatever the top number is, we know that we want to get the bottom number to be 100. So we have to figure out what number times what number we take to get to 100, and you would do it to the top as well. So for 4, it's 25. So we would take 1 times 25 and get 25, so we would have 25%, and that would be our answer on this one. So 3 over 50 as a percent, again, I think your book is going to be pretty nice to you. The work is shown there, but I'm going to show you the work here and talk through it. So we're supposed to write 3 over 50 as a percent. Again, ideally, we want to get to 100. So whatever we took times 50, we have to do to the top as well. So this one's 2, this one's 2 as well. We get 6 over 100. So my answer is 6%, because that's what 6 over 100 means. This last one is a real-life application. It says a drought affects 9 of the 12 Midwestern states. What percent of the Midwestern states are affected by the drought? So we have 9 over 12, and we can reduce that to 3 over 4. Now, to figure out the percent, after we reduce this, we again want to get our denominator to be 100. I know I take that times 25. I take the top times 25 as well. And I get 75 over 100, so 75% of the states in the Midwest were affected by the drought. Now we're going to have some on our own. So the first 4 here, you're going to try and get them to be over 100. And then in example 3, it says it rains in all the Midwestern states, what percent of the states are affected by the drought? So again, if it's talking about all 12 of the Midwestern states, and we want to know what percent out of the 50 states that the U.S. has for number 9, we're going to find the percent like this. So again, you want to get your denominator to 100 on every example on this page, and it should not be that hard. All these denominators go into 100 evenly. So number 5. We have 31 over 50. We want to get to 100 as a denominator. So we take it times 2, so we get 62 over 100, so it's 62% for number 5. Number 6, we have 7 over 25. We want to get to 100. We take it times 4, so when we take the top times 4, we get 28, so it's 28%. 7, we have 19 over 20. So we get 100 as a denominator. We would multiply by 5. If we multiply the top by 5, we're going to get 95. Number 8, we have 1 and 1/2. Again, we know that we have a 1 whole 100 on top already. What would be easiest is to change this thing to a mixed number or an improper fraction, so 3 over 2. Again, I want to get my denominator to be 100. So I'd have to take the top times 50 as well, and I would get 150 over 100, so it's 150%. Okay, the last one, we take it times 2, we take the top times 2 as well, we get 24, so 24% of all of the United States were affected by the drought. Again, make sure you look over these and know what to do for the homework.